Scholars presume that the poem of Homer's Hymn to Demeter described the changing of the seasons and women's initiation rites. But if you look at the abduction of Persephone from a psychological point of view, this ancient Greek myth tells a completely different story. Hey guys, welcome to another Mastermind Content Archetypes Explained series. I'm Richard O'Dale, and in this video I'm going to reveal the meaning of the esoteric symbolism in the Homeric Hymn To Demeter. Now if you don't know this story, don't worry, I'll walk you through it as we go through. At least I'll walk you through the key moments. But suffice to say, there's a deeper hidden meaning than the general view widely thought within academia. So just to give you a bit of background, Homer's Hymn to Demeter was central to the Eleusinian mysteries, a passage of rites that were held every year in Greece. Now the day belonged to women only and is believed to have been quite raucous. The ladies were encouraged to whisper vulgar words to each other that they wouldn't normally do in ordinary life, and simulate sexual fantasies using phallic-shaped props. Ancient dildos, I suppose. Now the Eleusinian rites are steeped in mystery, and it's said that anybody revealing the secrets will be punished by death. It's hard to believe then that these ancient rites and Homer's celebrated poem describes the changing of the seasons. That's because they don't. They describe the transformation of energy, or more precisely, the transcendence of the undeveloped ego from maidenhood to womanhood. And this is what leads some scholars to interpret the annual ceremony as women's initiation rites. Young girls are thought to have been schooled in the art of sexual intercourse in preparation for marriage, which is probably closer to the truth. It's quite plausible that this would have happened within ancient Greek traditions, and possibly one of the reasons for the rites, because only women of childbearing age attended. But I think there's also a deeper meaning to going through those processes, and it's about overcoming low self-esteem, becoming comfortable in your own self, and being able to express aspects of your personality that you wouldn't ordinarily be allowed to do in normal society, possibly not even in a marriage. However, this theory does not tie in with Homer's myth. Central to the story is the goddess Demeter, an aspect of the mother archetype who presided over agriculture. Here we see Demeter's role as nurturing and nourishing, but in the myth she is neither nurturing or nourishing. In fact, quite the opposite. When Zeus resists Demeter's plea for her daughter to be returned from the underworld, Demeter refuses to grow the crops, which allows the earth to suffer from a famine. Now Zeus eventually yields and decrees that Persephone will spend 6 months of the year on earth with her mother and 6 months in the underworld with Hades, who would become her husband. Now in the 6 months when she's on earth with her mother, the crops grow and flourish, the spring and summer, and when she's in the underworld, the crops decay and die, autumn and winter. So yeah, you can see why scholars associate the hymn with the changing of the seasons. But do you really think that that is an important lesson to teach anybody? As a matter of fact, the seasons have an esoteric meaning within themselves. Spring represents the commencement and new beginnings in which there is potential for growth, and summer is that potential for growth when the sun is at its highest point and is essentially relating to self-knowledge. Autumn is when old patterns of life starts to be phased out, and winter is when old ways of being are discontinued so that new ways of being can be brought into your daily life. So we're then starting back again in spring, and so the cycle constantly repeats itself. Now the same is true for the way that we develop conscious awareness. It's the old analogy of death and rebirth. It actually just describes the transformation of energy, and energy is driven by consciousness. So we see this in the laws of thermodynamics that explain that energy does not die, it transforms. And quantum physics shows that all energy carries information, information. Transformation is information. So what information is Homer conveying to us in his Hymn to Demeter? In simple terms, the myth explains the important role nurturing and nourishing plays in the development of psychological well-being. When the seeds that are planted and nurtured and nourished, the crops are healthy and everyone benefits from an abundant harvest. Now Cicero called Demeter's daughter Persephone the seed of the fruits of the fields. So if you look at this from an esoteric point of view, the seeds are the thoughts that you plant in your head, beliefs, perceptions, and the information that you experience on a daily basis. Give us this day our daily bread. Sound familiar? Bread is a source of nourishment. As I mentioned earlier, the goddess Demeter embodies the mother archetype, or the great mother archetype. And there are two sides of this mother archetype. There is the constructive side of nurturing and nourishing, and the destructive side of overprotecting and devouring. Now Demeter is overprotective of her daughter Persephone, or Kore, which literally means maiden. A maiden in myth is an undeveloped aspect of the personality, a young lady that needs to develop and grow. Maidens mature into life-giving mothers, and mothers become wise old women, or crones as they're known, the maiden, mother, crone triad. In the Hymn to Demeter, we see the goddess as the devouring mother, refusing to grow crops that feed humanity. Humanity symbolizes the cells of the body. Cells live in communities, humanity live in communities. And children with so-called devouring mothers are prone to developing a mother complex, and typically have low self-esteem, which can cause all kinds of problems in adult life, including depression. Now in Homer's poem, both Demeter and Kore are seen in depressive states. Moreover, low self-esteem promotes dysfunctional patterns of behaviour, such as sacrificing your own needs, denying your transformative power, neglecting your potential, and abandoning your authenticity. Children need to be taught how to do things for themselves, encouraged to learn and develop competencies, but also to be shown their true worth. And this is where the caretaker comes in. The caretaker needs to know that they are worthy and needed and appreciated. In the absence of nurturing and nourishing, analogous with agriculture, children do not develop a sufficient level of psychological maturity to function properly as an adult if they are not also given nurturing and nourishment. Now, as I explained earlier this week, these are all symptoms associated with the wounded caretaker. And Homer gives us this clue in his Hymn to Demeter. He describes Kore as her with the delicate ankles, which would suggest a psychological immaturity, an undeveloped personality. So for example, from an esoteric viewpoint, delicate ankles implies that she does not possess competencies to navigate the world. Ankles are flexible and enable you to change direction. They enable you to navigate the world. Ankles enable you to get from where you are to where you want to be, and to be able to do that you need to have the right skills and knowledge. Delicate is another way of saying fragile, thin-skinned, easily broken, damaged. You can use these terms to describe someone that is weak-willed and of frail mind. Homer also tells us that Kore is drawn towards a narcissus flower that is planted deliberately so that Hades can come and snatch his chosen maiden. Now, the narcissus flower is associated with the modern term narcissist, and although narcissists are vilified in this day and age, they do have qualities that the wounded caretaker actually needs to develop. In fact, people with low self-esteem need to develop some traits of the narcissist. They just need to be able to balance it so that it doesn't become self-indulgent. For example, a narcissist has a sense of self-importance which the caretaker lacks. They also have a recognition of their specialness, again, which people with so low self-esteem do not have. They also have an air of self-confidence, albeit arrogance, in a narcissist, whereby the caretaker needs to have confidence in their own ability and in themselves. So narcissists themselves actually have an inferiority complex which people with low self-esteem also have. Now, the difference is that narcissists put themselves first. The caretaker puts other people first before themselves. Now, balancing the two poles of narcissism and the caretaker or people pleasing can actually help you to become more well adjusted. Now, we see this in the Hymn to Demeter, because Persephone, as the queen of the underworld, becomes adjusted to her new circumstances. She accepts her fate and becomes the bride of Hades. And in other myths, we see that Persephone becomes the epitome of charity, favour and prosperity. And these are all the healthy traits of an integrated caretaker archetype. As king of the underworld, Hades is the ruler of the dead, the unlived. Now, the unlived are the unexpressed aspects of the personality. When your personality is not expressed, you become depressed. You are literally dead to the world. Although Kore, Persephone, is clearly unhappy in the underworld when Zeus decrees that she is permitted to divide her time in two, she accepts her fate. Self-acceptance is a prerequisite to stave off low self-esteem. In the Roman version of Persephone's abduction, she's called Proserpine, which probably derived from the Latin prospere, which means to spring up or to creep forth. The name Kore is thought to be the Proto-Indo-European word kur, meaning to grow also. So again, we're seeing this idea of psychological growth, which is the development of the ego, psychological maturity from infancy to full maturity, from maiden to motherhood to old crone. And the ego needs to be nurtured and nourished in order to develop the skills and the knowledge to be able to navigate the world and manage your environment. So can you see how the caretaker archetype is central to psychological growth, maturity and wisdom? And this is what I believe the esoteric symbolism in Homer's Hymn to Demeter teaches us. Not the changing of the seasons, but the changing of the conscious personality. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'm Richard Oldale and this is Mastermind Content. Bye bye.